And we're streaming live here in Austin, Texas. And joining me in studio is none other than Mrs. Katie Sass. Welcome, Mrs. Katie Sass.
Hey.
And fresh back from a trip to Thailand that I hear had its ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going to be another podcast for another time. This morning, we're going to be talking about some
juicy news.
Juicy news. You know, I didn't think this would happen. Can I just be honest with you? I thought that Joe Biden would ride Joe Biden out because it was too late to bring in somebody new. Mm-hmm. But they did. The Democratic Party has gotten Joe Biden to resign after his debacle of a debate performance, and now they've got Kamala Harris. Your first thoughts on that from you, Katie?
No thanks.
Are you above having political thoughts?
I'm saying no thank you to Kamala.
Oh, got it. Sorry. I thought you were like, no thank you. I don't want no comment. But no, you're not.
I always want to comment.
Yeah. So you're not thinking. I think for the Democrats, this is not an upgrade. I think it's about an even Steven, personally. You're just like, whatever. You're. Right. I wouldn't want to vote for you.
I like having opinions, and I like having a say. Uh-huh. And, but I also know that the president of the United States doesn't really affect my immediate life.
Really?
Like, it doesn't, like, whoever is in office, like, whoever the president is, mm-hmm. doesn't really affect my inner circle, my life. Like, it doesn't. Like, the people that affect your life are the local
leaders.
Yes.
Okay, so are you like so because you live in Round Rock, or yeah. So are you like, voting for the mayor and the school board and all that stuff, and like
Ryan makes me. I wouldn't have
like, do you follow like the local Round Rock? No.
Yeah, I'm like just click Republican and go. Just like I know nothing.
Okay. Well, I'm now going to inform you.
Well, don't, because I probably won't care.
No, this is good. Okay. This is why you need to care. All right. So this is good. This is a good conversation, because I think what happens for a lot of us is we see politics happen and we go, who cares? But the reality is there's a reason why.
I know that there's a reason.
I mean, there is a reason why people are trying to shoot.
I just want people to just tell me. Just Ryan, just tell me who to vote for. Like, just tell me. Like, I couldn't care less. So, like, I trust my husband. Babe, you just tell me. Just tell me who. Do I just click Republican and check all the boxes?
Back in the day, before women's suffrage, when women didn't have the right to vote, what the argument was, my husband votes for me. And so you would have been like, yeah.
I would have been totally fine with that.
Okay. All right.
But like, I'm not saying it's not important. I know it's important, but it's not something that I think about.
Okay.
And so, like personally.
So you don't listen to like any news things.
Are you serious? Can you imagine? Is that what you think of me? That
I don't. I honestly don't. But I mean, like, you don't know what's going on at all.
No.
Like, but you sometimes sound like politically competent. Like, when I talk to you, I don't feel like I'm talking to someone that's like.
Well, I know who's Republican and who's Democrat. I don't. But like, so.
Did you know who Joe Biden's vice president was before this week?
Yes, only because of social media.
Okay, so what do you find out on social media?
Chris, you're trying to make me.
No, I'm not. I'm just wondering, because I think you find like reels and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
I just watch whatever I see on social media.
What it is that you know. That's what I.
Okay, all I know about Kamala, is it Kamala?
You know, potato.
So all I know about her is she talks in circles.
She does.
So that
is actually very accurate.
So many clips of things that she has said. And I'm sitting here going, hold on a second. How did she pass middle school?
Right.
So, but I don't know her personally. I hope she comes to know Jesus. It doesn't sound like she knows Jesus. It doesn't sound like she practices Christianity or believes in any sort of moral values in the Bible. So like I hope.
She's very pro-abortion, very
Right.
radical left-wing person.
Yes. So
Like-
I don't understand how you can be
Joe
that
Biden
way
is a moderate
and
compared to her.
also say you love Jesus. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So like I might get some flack for this, but like I don't understand how you can be a Christian and also pro-choice. Like how do you love Jesus but also say, you know what? I will stand by and allow people to kill their babies.
Yeah.
Because like I don't understand. So whatever. I don't really care if you don't like me because of that, if you're listening. But so when it comes to, Kamala,
Kamala's probably the preferred, but Kamala's probably fine too. But Kamala.
I don't want a female president.
Why not?
Are you serious?
Oh, I guess if we're going back to women's suffrage and you kind of want to reverse the right to vote, then that.
No,
then,
I'm not wanting to reverse the right to vote. There are plenty of women that love voting.
Yeah.
I am just not one of them. And it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you have a great husband, so like your life's pretty good.
I literally didn't even know if I was registered to vote until we got married. I didn't know that you voted at certain times until we got married.
Huh.
Like, I wouldn't have known.
All right, so here,
anything.
Let me help you out.
I know it's important.
Okay, ready? I'm going to school you on the importance of
Okay.
this. All right. So this isn't really necessarily about.
You realize this is pointless, right?
No, it's good. It's good. It's because I feel like if I can connect with you, I can probably connect to the broader audience and why it's. Well, the Bible calls
But why
us
do I have to care?
to pray.
I
and
still do it.
Work for the good of the city, and
I still do it.
voting is a part of that. And
I
which you're-
vote.
I know. To which I'm saying, right, and then having understanding of political framework, so that. Do you have any liberal friends that
I do, and they're very loud, and I try to continue to be friends with them because I want them to know Jesus. But recently, I posted something about Trump, and
What'd you post?
there's some crickets. They're a little bit not.
Hey, they didn't get angry at you though.
Well, but they stopped. Like, we used to engage a lot,
Like they'd say, "Oh yeah, me too,"
like on social media. Like we would like go back and forth.
over like essential oils or something.
No,
Is it shampoo? No.
no, just random things like motherhood.
Oh, okay.
Like
The stuff that they can relate on.
yes.
So, a part of obviously want to be.
But no,
forwarding the
a lot
gospel.
of people did. Like, I have noticed that there are a lot of people that I am friends with that don't know me like personally. Like, I'm friends
Oh,
with
I
them,
see
but
what
they
you're
don't know me like personally.
Right.
And they only know about the things that I post on social media, which granted is a lot. I mean, I post a lot of my life and who I am as a person on social media.
Yeah.
But I've never gotten political before. And so I think there are a lot of my friends that are very much more on the liberal side that connect with me on a lot of things that would probably assume that I'm not a Trump fan because I'm not the obnoxious, loud, extremist, rightist person.
But you said you would go get a cup of coffee with Donald Trump.
I would love to have coffee with Donald Trump. But like, I'm not the person that's going to ride with a Trump flag on my car. Like, I'm not going to wear the Make America Great Again hat. Like, that's just not, I'm not going to, that's just.
But you are going to post on social media.
I don't care enough.
Is there any
But then I did. I posted,
so why not
shared
wear a
a
MAGA
thing.
hat? Just own it. Like,
I don't know. I feel like that's like next level Trump fan.
Okay. So
Like, I
primary
feel like
level is
they're-
just being keyboard warrior
Like,
for Trump.
like, I'm not neutral. I have a stance.
Yeah.
But it's not like part of my identity.
Okay, fair.
It's not just, it's just like, yeah, it's who I'm voting for.
All right.
And I enjoy him. I don't want a female president. I don't care who it is. Women do not belong in the presidential seat. That might make people like me a little less for saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not a feminist.
Okay.
And I just don't.
Are you a trad wife though?
I support that lifestyle.
Okay. Yeah.
I just don't think that women belong in that sort of leadership position. I just don't.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and
I
that's
feel
why
a
it's
lot
great
more
to be an
secure.
American.
I feel a lot more secure with men in leadership.
Let's say, all right, how about this? You ready? It was Joe Biden and Nikki Haley, for example.
Who is that?
Nikki Haley. So Nikki Haley was who was the other primary contender running against Donald Trump.
Oh, does she have brown hair? Like,
Yeah.
is she pretty?
Yeah.
I think I saw her.
Fairly attractive.
I don't know.
And so she was the number 2 in the Republican primary. She's like the last woman standing. Would you vote for Joe Biden over Nikki Haley if that were the case?
I'm always going to vote for the Republican.
Okay, so clearly it's not that it I'm not trying to like get you in a box like it matters, but what you're saying is it doesn't really matter. You just would prefer a man over a woman.
I would prefer a man over a woman, but if the man does not hold the beliefs that I support, then I'm not going to vote for him. Like, if the woman holds the beliefs that I support,
Yeah.
then yeah, I would
Right.
vote for her, but I would prefer it to be a man.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's well said. I'm sure on the Democratic side, they're probably the opposite. They would prefer it to be a woman, but they can be okay with a man, which is why I think Kamala Harris has experienced a bit of a bump, and they're in the honeymoon phase of her.
Oh, because a lot of
candidacy.
people want to be like, let's make history and have a first female black president. And it's like, freaking get over it. Like, shut up.
Well,
Why do you want her in office just because she's black, just because she's a woman? Oh, well, make history.
So I don't.
Shouldn't you
this
be
is where
proud?
I don't know if it's about race, and I know this might be. I might be.
That's what I've been saying. I haven't seen everyone post things like that.
But because if it was a female president on the Republican side, I don't think that would be the issue. I think the issue is the actual. I think we're at a point now, regardless of race, regardless of sex, it's all about the issues of what does this person support. So Kamala Harris clearly she is the border czar. Have you heard about the border czar? So a czar is like the leader, like, hey, you are the one that's commissioned by the president, Joe Biden, to go make sure the border is secure. That was like her whole job this year, to kind of come back and report on it. And
It's not.
Well, she completely failed at it. I mean, the board is so porous. Even Joe Biden had to have like an executive order to kind of push something through to kind of stop the border being quite as messy as it is.
Didn't they intentionally bring people over?
Right. Yes. They intentionally they wanted, come on, come one, come all. And what happened is it happened. And then it became such a mess that you have so many people getting murdered by people who are coming to our country without documentation, they're completely illegal. They have records elsewhere and they're coming for seeking asylum. But because there's no process at the border, they just walk across, they're then able to do whatever. So anyway, but that was Kamala Harris's big task as the vice president, was to be overseeing that. So she's going to have a hurdle if people care about that. But if people care about being pro-choice, she's very pro-choice. If people care about the transgender, LGBTQIA plus agenda, she's very pro all of that. And so they're not worried about, for example, if it was a black woman running as a Republican, that wouldn't automatically get black female votes. I think at this point, everyone now, unless they don't know, if they don't know, they're just going to go all blue, all red, keep moving.
Well, I remember when Biden won and, Kamala was his,
running mate,
and everyone was so excited. And I saw so many girls post things like, whether you like her or not, she's made history and we should support it because she's the first female vice president and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I don't give a flying crap if she is a female or not. She holds none of my personal beliefs. So I'm not going to support her being in office.
Right. So the big thing, Kamala's, she got into politics through the San Francisco mayor, Willie Brown, back in the day. And the biggest thing is that he's the guy that gave her 2 political appointments that launched her political career. And most people, and the thing that this is about to come out, is they're going to be asking, hey, did you have an affair? Did you have an affair with Willie Brown? And that would be, when that's going to be the big thing.
I don't think that matters.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because Donald Trump has been a slut too.
Right. But remember,
So it's like both of them had
Trump,
had sex with people that they shouldn't have had sex with. So why is that one of the things that they're trying to tie to each other?
So did Donald Trump use sex to get ahead in business? Probably
No.
not. If anything, it made
He
him
was
look,
the one that girls would sleep with to advance their lives.
Exactly.
But like the thing is, why does it matter? Like
to your point, it matters because you're
like,
saying,
can't we figure something else out to fight with?
Well, I guess whenever she talks in a word salad. Like she just says a bunch of words that are just tossed in together. They have no.
Right.
She's unburdened by what has been.
That's her thing every time. That's what I've seen the most is we need to be unburdened by what has been to be what to come, something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well,
And
you could just say anything right
sense.
there. Yeah. I feel like if she debates Trump, she's going to say a word salad and Trump's going to go, I don't even know, like the same thing about Biden.
He's going to say, I don't know what you just said. And I don't think you know either.
Right. And I think that's going to help Trump win.
So are they going to have another presidential debate?
Oh, I can't imagine them not. And if they don't, that's what Trump would be like. If you can't debate me, then you have no right to be a president. We saw what happened.
Because every presidential candidate has to debate each other, right?
There's no has to. Like if I were Joe Biden, I would have said no. I'm not debating you. I would have made up whatever excuse possible not to debate Donald Trump because everybody knew he was going to get steamrolled. It was like a bloodbath, like watching everything that you knew would happen happened.
Right.
And the fact that Democrats were either that dumb or they wanted Joe to fail so that he would have to be replaced.
Well, and like the way that Biden's wife was like complimenting him after
You're
the race.
so smart. You
was
knew all
like,
the facts like a child.
Like, yeah, you were cheering him on like you praise a 5-year-old.
This is where you know more than you're letting on. This is where I think you're coming
It's not
off
that
like
I
a ditz
am trying
and you
to
actually know
hide.
stuff.
No, I am not trying to come off as a ditz. I genuinely I don't know a ton about all of the policies. I know the major policies like the LGBTQ stuff, the pro-choice stuff, and
the border.
Like I know the big obvious things.
Okay.
But like if someone were to come to me, sorry, I dropped my flip-flops. If somebody were to come to me and be like, what are all the reasons you're voting for Trump?
And what would you say?
I don't think because I would have coffee with him would fly.
But you wouldn't have coffee with Kamala Harris?
Absolutely not.
Why not? Just a word salad.
If I was going to share the gospel with her, yeah, I would.
Wouldn't you want to do that with Donald Trump?
Yeah, but we would also talk about other fun things.
So did you watch any of the Republican National Convention? Probably not.
No, I don't watch any of that stuff.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, the thing...
I'm not trying to... That doesn't mean I'm a ditz. It just means that, like, I'm very surface level when it comes to politics.
Okay, fair enough. But
I think I want to... Like, I went through a phase last election year.
Right.
Where I dug deep into
Yeah.
things. And I became very intense. And I own that. I had fun. It was like... But then, I got over it. And now
Okay.
I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Well, so yeah, maybe I just knew you in that period of time where you were like really on it. But I do think there's the reality that we're going to face here is Donald Trump is going to have a little bit bigger hill to climb. But I do think he's going to be able to ride this out. If he doesn't, I think the only thing that could not go well for him is if he really bullies Kamala. I don't think that's going to go very well because it's going to come off as a man mistreating a woman, even though
Probably, yeah.
That's only going to hurt conservatives who would see that as wrong. Whereas if you do that to another man, that's like, well, of course, that's what you do. So I do think that could come back to haunt him. But I don't think that Kamala Harris, her VP, she's about to pick a running mate. She's got to do that. And I think that'll probably come within the next week. And I think it's Josh Shapiro. I think it's the governor of Pennsylvania is probably the lead guy, but he's Jewish, so that's probably not going to happen because the left's position on Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah is pro-Hamas Hezbollah, and the liberals and Democrats have thought to win Michigan, which has a high concentration of Palestinians, it's going to be very difficult to do that without maintaining a very pro Hamas, Hezbollah. So I think that's why it's sort of important to know that and help me, like, you want to support terrorism? And then the pro-Palestinian people are like, you want to support terrorism from Israel? And you're like, no, it's sovereign state versus non-sovereign state. Anyway, all that to say is that I think there are some things that are going to come up that Kamala Harris is going to have to battle. And I don't think she has the capacity as an intellectual person to be able to debate and talk about her position in a way that isn't a word salad of being unburdened what has been to be what it will be.
Yeah. I think that if they debate, Trump is going to have a hard time not bullying her because he's going to have fun doing it.
Right. And to be fair, when Trump talks, like when he gives speeches, they're like 94 minutes long.
Well, and they're actually not miserable to watch.
Right, because they're unscripted. He just gets up there and starts talking,
yeah,
which is a real gift.
Like, he's hilarious.
He is hilarious. And remember, he's been on live TV for like a long, doing shows, doing reality TV. So he has a basic direction of where to go, but he's not reading a teleprompter. He's just going off the cuff.
Right.
And he'll interact with the crowd. You know, do you want to see Joe Biden or do you want to see Kamala Harris? You know, and all of that. It's sort of wild. Okay, so I think what we're going to see here, and to be fair, I don't think Joe Biden really wanted to do this. I think Hunter Biden and his inner circle of I don't know, inner circle of family, Jill specifically did not want to give up the presidency. Hunter Biden is the one that probably okayed it, but we have no idea who actually wrote the tweet or the letter that he signed or that somebody signed. I think that's what you're seeing is like there's a lot of things happening as him as president that he's not fit for office at this point, not because of his liberal leanings, but because I just don't think he is functional as a human being for the office.
He needs to be in hospice.
Well, I don't know about hospice, but he definitely needs to be in some memory care. He probably definitely needs to be, you know, putting his feet up
in
and
a nursing home.
No, I think he could probably afford not to be. He's made a lot of money in politics. He's been in politics since he's like 29 or something insane like that.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah, definitely time. I mean, it's like 52 years or so. Isn't that wild? I mean, that means that he like what is it? It's 2024. That means like 1972.
It's like the 30-year-old that won't graduate college.
Yeah.
Like, bro. There are better things.
Right.
Like, you know, laying in your bed and.
Yeah. I do think the Willie Brown stuff of Kamala Harris is going to hurt her. I do think that that's where you're going to have the campaign revolve around.
See, I don't care about that stuff. I think that
if
I'm going to care about it, then I need to also care about Trump's.
No, I'm not saying. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think you may not care about it, but enough people will care about it because it shows that she didn't have the actual capacity to get elected in the first place. That she had.
Then it'll show. Like it'll come out.
Right.
Like it'll show that she's not competent in being president.
Right. Well, she's not competent in being vice president.
Right.
Again, and it's not because of her liberal leanings. It's because whenever she starts talking, it's just a word salad of nothing. And I think that's where you're going to struggle. So any debate, any interview, it's going to be a lot of what the heck did she just say? And she'll stick to her talking points. She's great at that. But the problem is when all you do is repeat talking points, you know that you're just being puppeted. And so I think that's where the struggle is. Whereas Donald Trump, I mean, nobody can control him, which has its own issues. But I think for the most part, it's going to be. Now, as a Christian, let's talk about this. Like, how do you think a Christian should be responding to this? And I would love to, I think I've gotten your opinion, which is not check out, but like don't get too invested. Is that where you're at?
It's not that I don't want to get too invested. It's that yes, I would love Donald Trump to be in office.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would love him to be the president.
Right.
I think that would be like extremely entertaining from a social media point of view. That's where I get my news.
Right.
But I also take it with a grain of salt. Like that's not where I'm like, oh my gosh, these are credible sources. Like they're memes and reels. Like I don't. And so that's how I kind of am aware of things. But if Kamala Harris is our president, if she wins, that'll be a bummer. Like, it'll be a real bummer.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I just don't foresee it directly impacting my life and how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll eat my words.
So here's a little bit why. So with somebody like a liberal leaning person being in office, ultimately that's going to hurt. They don't have any problem with deficit spending. Not that we're worried about the country going to fall.
So like grocery shopping.
Yes.
But I'm saying like to a detrimental point. Like yes, the recession has sucked and we had to like up our grocery budget. I've had to be a little more careful.
It's not quite recession, but inflation. The inflation is
whatever.
Hard. Yeah, I'm with
whatever
you.
is happening.
Yeah, the inflation.
But I mean, like, tell me, like, how would my life be affected if Kamala Harris is president? Like,
yeah.
Like, can you tell me specific things that would change that would be detrimental to my
the border
life
being
and
a
my
problem?
children?
I think that needs to be shut down. There's more danger when the border is open like it is. When you don't have,
but
so she'll be
people
weak.
People have been coming across the border.
Not
forever.
Not like this. We're in unprecedented territory with the border. We're in unprecedented territory with China and their ability to influence our politics, our economy, because they're having so much power. I don't see Kamala standing up to Xi Jinping, the president of China. I don't see Kamala standing up to the president of Russia. Like when Putin talks, Putin, he respects Trump. I can't, when Kamala comes at him with a word salad, he'll be like, what?
Right. A lot of people respect Trump.
So the Middle Eastern diplomacy, that's a problem. Okay. But then you're like, well, how does that affect my life?
There would be a lot of things happening around me that I don't like. Like, I'm not going to like the progression of trans rights. I'm not going to like the progression of the LGBT community having more.
So if Ava, when she becomes able to play sports, what if she has to compete against a man? Now all of a sudden it is definitely in your best interest to care. If she's, but maybe she's not going to play sports. But whatever it is, if she's competing in an athletic thing,
whether I care or not care, I'm in no control.
Sure, that's why. But that's what I'm saying.
I can vote, but I'm in no control over what is going to happen.
Right.
In 5 or 10 years when she's in sports.
But I guess what I'm saying is you have influence. And
over one vote.
No. This is where I feel like you have more influence than you're giving yourself credit for. And sometimes I think you don't want to have influence, so you come off as like you don't know anything when you actually do know stuff. And so then you feel like, well, I don't know anything, so therefore I don't need to influence people. Whereas
why do you think I'm coming off as I don't know
Because
anything?
I think you know more than you're letting.
But I'm not this I'm not a political guru.
I'm not saying you have to be a
I'm not
political
Leah
guru.
Brown. Like, Leah could come up here
but
and
I guess
she'd probably be way better
at
talking about all this.
But I guess that's my point, is that you have influence with people that probably are, if they're left-leaning, they don't care that much. But if you start to care and you influence them, that might bring the whole culture to the right. Now, is that ultimately our goal? No, we want them to know Jesus. And so I think that's the primary
if
influence.
I'm going to sway them any sort of way, it's going to be towards Jesus.
Right. But then ultimately influencing them towards Jesus, at this point, let's just be honest. It's like every position you're taking, like when it comes to a woman's role in the home, to marriage between a man and a woman, when Obama became president, and then he had a liberal appointment, and the Supreme Court shift, although he may have already been liberal when he got in there, but he was able to influence the culture to say what we want is marriage is no longer between a man and a woman, it's now between whoever. And what that happens, that's going to affect your life, because now at school that's being taught. That's like a thing. That was not being taught.
But Ava's not going to go to public school.
Okay, fair enough. Just for my kids, that'll affect. But I think that's where I'm saying is it does affect you, because, okay, eventually you want those kids coming to the youth group, the student ministry, right? Mm-hmm. And so eventually, when that's normalized, then now you have another thing to battle as far as like what's going to influence your kid. Just saying. So maybe you're right. You're going to have a lot of control and authority in Ava's life, and she's going to listen to you, whatever you say, and the culture will have no ability to sway her.
So you want me to just live in fear?
I don't want you to live
in fear. Because it's like I am not in control of the world, Christopher.
I know you're not in control. I'm not saying you're in control. All I'm saying...
All I can control is doing my best to influence
and you're doing
my
great.
Child.
For Jesus.
Right. I can do my best to influence but unless I am going to go study up on all these political policies, I'm just going to look like an idiot. So why say anything if I don't know everything about what I'm talking about?
Why share the gospel if you don't know every possible...
Because I know how to share the gospel.
How'd you learn?
Because it's like 2 sentences, Chris.
Well, no, but you know a lot. This is where you know a lot more than most people about sharing the gospel. You have a theology that's developed that you didn't know when we met you at 20 years old.
But like, here's the thing. So, okay, Ava, eventually when she gets older, or like, whenever we have a second child, like our kids will be...
Whoa, this is a shift.
I'm not pregnant. Don't be like... getting excited. I'm just saying eventually we are going to like grow our family.
Yeah.
So like I would love a specific kind of world for my children. Mm-hmm. Every parent would.
Right.
But if the majority of the United States votes for Kamala Harris, then what I have to do is put on the Holy Spirit and pray, cover my family in prayer that God would protect us and give us the strength to persevere through adversity.
Right.
Not sit here and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to influence and how am I going to
Absolutely. I don't want us to walk in fear. I totally agree with that.
Didn't God tell us in the book of Revelation that this would happen?
He did.
Didn't he tell us the world was going to fall apart before he comes back?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, should we be shocked that the world doesn't look the way that we want it?
I don't think we're shocked. I just am wondering, why not use your influence?
What influence politically do I have?
Clearly you do.
Who have I influenced? Do you know?
Well, no, I'm just saying, you've shared, and I've seen your social media, and so therefore I know that people follow you that aren't really big either way. But when you put in a Trump thing that you just put, that influenced people, and I think what that's showing is that and it's not necessarily you need to just putting a Trump flag up that.
I think that I lost opportunity to witness to the non-believers,
and that's why that's why I don't post Trump stuff like that. But I do think if you post stuff like, here's how to best raise your kid, and it shows a conservative mindset that kind of is godly, that's going to help people see, oh yeah, that does make sense. And I think that's where you are gifted in sharing that. And then when you do share that on social media, then people start to see that your worldview aligns not so much with the Kamala train, but the Trump train. And I think that's where people are going to start to veer as they're watching what you do, because you're letting your light so shine among men. I think that's where, and I think the gospel is informing everything you're saying and doing, and which is why I think that's really great. But not everything you post is about Jesus dying on the cross, being raised from the dead. You post stuff about shampoo and hair and stuff and all the things you care about. And so you also care about your daughter, and you're going to say, hey, this is why I'm not going into public school, because I'm not afraid, because we're not afraid, but I want to train my child in righteousness, and so this is where I want to go. And I think that even saying that kind of stuff helps influence the culture to be more godly. And I'm not saying that because somebody's going to make the laws, right? And do you want people who are far from God or have no access to Christians, who have no opinions about stuff, having the ones making the laws, or would you like godly people making the laws that are going to influence the whole culture? I think that's why I think it's important to be involved in politics, but not put your hope in politics, because our hope obviously is in Jesus. Right. And but that doesn't mean, that's why when I talk about pray, whenever Israel was exiled to Babylon, and then in 1 Peter 1, 2, and 3, he talks about you are sojourners and exiles in this world, meaning heaven is your home, and you're here on mission as an ambassador, as an exile, as someone who is longing to get home. And so therefore you influence the culture for good, and where you can speak into it. And it's hard. And I think, to your point, it is difficult to do.
There's so much about the political realm that I don't know a lot about. Like, yeah, I might know the basics.
But I think what you do know is good. And I think,
but like when I watch people on social media that talk about politics, it just sounds like they know a lot.
They don't. They heard talking points from somebody else, and they're regurgitating what has been said. And so if you understand that nobody actually does know anything, all they've done is read somebody else's stuff. Maybe they read 2 things, or they watched 2 things, and then they're repeating it. That helps you inform, because your biblical worldview tells you how you should probably vote. Like that is your biblical worldview informs that. So when you speak with conviction about, here's the role of a man and a woman, when you speak with conviction about having personal responsibility for your own life and not depending on the government as your savior, that language that you already know and that you already believe becomes informative and influential in the people's lives that you love, and that you're already influencing for Christ anyway. And they might not jump on board with Jesus yet, but they're going to say, okay, I see at least where you're coming from, and you might be crazy in believing that Jesus rose from the dead, but your worldview is not nuts. And I think that's the part that I think is helpful in drawing people to Christ, is in a way where we could say, like, listen, we're not just on the a religious bandwagon because we're afraid that the culture is going to hell in a handbasket, but because we really want the society to flourish. And society flourishes when there's good laws that good people put in, and people act civilly. And one of the things that you know from Genesis, we are put on this earth to subdue it. And so sometimes people, like when you think subdue, that means rule it, that means conquer it, that means.
But like, what happens when all you can do is vote?
But no, that's not all you. That's what I'm saying. That's not all you can do. You can influence people for the gospel and for the good of culture.
I don't think I'm going to influence anyone to vote for Trump.
I'm not saying you need to. This is where I'm saying sometimes it looks like getting on a campaign rally for Trump, and I'm not saying that. But I think when you espouse your values and you have a why behind it that you do understand, that is being politically influential, because that'll ultimately trickle down to all the things that people are voting for. We had a guy that was in my community group last night, and he goes, and he was like, I think I'm conservative. It was really funny. He was like a.
How did he not know that he was?
It was funny.
Like a closet Republican?
Yeah, it was like a closet Republican. He was working out. He's a trainer. He's a trainer at like a local gym. And he started listening to this girl that was an LGBTQIA person. And he goes, I don't believe any of it. Like, all of a sudden hearing her made him realize, I think I'm really conservative. And it made him go, I think I need to vote for Trump. Now, her outspokenness of values that he didn't agree with is what made him go, I think I'm voting for Trump. Yeah. It's kind of like how Candace Owens now is like a right-wing, almost fanatic, but she was a Democrat person that went to a Trump rally to hear what he had to say, but to ultimately protest against him. And when she heard him speak about, like, why are you guys living this dump? Why are you guys living in a way like it's all these policies that have made your city this bad? And then she goes, crud, he's right. And then all of a sudden she changed from being a hardcore Democrat to being about as right-wing as you can possibly get, because she was influenced. And I'm not saying you need to be Donald Trump, but I'm saying, like, you have that ability with maybe a smaller demographic or a smaller bunch of people than Candace Owens, but you do have that influence with people.
Well, and I think, so I've seen the whole, was it Plan 2024? Or
2025. Project 2025.
Project 2025.
You even know about Project 2025?
Because somebody on Instagram posted it.
Right,
it's not like I just went
Tell me what you know about it, because I think that's good. Like, I bet you know more about it than most people.
Well, so I know it's mostly Christian values.
Yep.
But then the thing that kind of shocked me that I've seen a lot of my liberal friends post about is he wants to ban porn. Like he wants to like make it illegal,
Right.
like to like access
Right.
online. And people are mad about that.
Right, because you're getting into free speech. And this is where
It just blows my mind.
now this is exactly what I'm talking about and why you need to be involved, because is the beauty of free speech, being able to show your naked body and sell it on OnlyFans, is that worth it? Because freedom with zero restrictions is actually becoming a slave to your passions.
Yeah. And I think so, like going to the Art Institute,
Mm-hmm.
I keep up with like, I mean, I wouldn't say I keep up with them intentionally, but like I know what they believe, you know, and we interact ever so often. But like, I only know about what they're mad about because they are so loud about this Project 2025.
Right.
And I saw one of them post, you know, she's in a lesbian relationship,
Right.
but she's very like butch. And so like she's the like dude in the relationship. And so her and her wife, because they got married, they posted this thing on July 4th about how they're like not celebrating July 4th because of the freedoms that might be taken away from them if Trump is voted in office. And they're like, our marriage will be destroyed. Like we won't have rights, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, are you serious? Like whatever. Like, and so but like,
if you
good.
feel like you're
good.
right,
I want
that's good.
want you to not have the right to get married.
There you go.
I want women to not have the right to abort their babies.
So why is that? And I think the why is important here. So why do you not want them to have the right to get married?
Because I believe in Jesus.
Right,
because I am a
so
Christian.
What helps is when the culture backs you up. So when the culture as a whole says same-sex marriage is illegal, then it lines up with God's law. So that's why it matters then on all levels of politics, because you're wanting the culture to come to Christ, because as a whole, you're seeing something as sin that's all sin.
Well, and like I think everyone is up in arms about taking women's rights away. And it's like, good. I want to take that right away.
Why is that?
Because I don't want you to murder your baby.
Good. So that's where you're like, hey, because murder is wrong.
It's just like if I voted for a right to be taken away from a grown man to be able to rape a girl. I want to be able to take. It's like why
you're now getting into the very thing. Somebody's going to decide what the laws are. Therefore, use your influence.
I
to
want
create
them to.
A Christian culture is not a bad thing. It actually enhances the ability for people to see the darkness of their sin. Now, because what glorifies God more? The question you got to ask: what glorifies God more, godly laws or sinful laws?
Right.
You know, and I think that's the part that gets.
And like reading through the comments on these things, it's like everyone's like, yeah, it's all Christian morals. That's where our world's going to fall apart. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's where you think our world's going to fall apart because of Christian morals and values?
Right.
Because we want to uphold the traditional family system, because we want to stop women from killing their babies in the womb, because we want to stop homosexuality from ruling the world. Like, is that what you think is going to crash and burn?
Right. So I think this is where, to our discussion earlier of like, I love the passion coming off of you, because it seems like you do care. And you do know stuff.
But
you know what Project 2025 is, and Donald Trump has sort of like stiff-armed his alignment with it. And Project 2025 says like we're about 2/3 aligned with Donald Trump.
But like, what am I going to do about it? Like, yeah, I can care about these things, but like.
But you're talking about that. I think that's part of it. I think that's when you.
Yeah, but I'm talking to a bunch of people that agree with me. What am I going to do? Talk to a bunch of people about this stuff that disagree with me, and then just
on
get
your
in
social
fights?
media, clearly you have people that
don't. It's just going to start fights. Like, do you understand that if I share any of this stuff online, I'm going to get berated by these people that I am trying to witness to?
Okay, so tell me about the friends you do witness to, and. They have, so for example, let's say you have somebody from Israel that you're friends with, and and then also when you're able to sort of like, but they don't believe in Jesus yet, but you say like, listen, here are the things that Christians believe. We want to support Israel. They're like, wow, that's awesome. You're on our team. And they say we also want to support because they can't go there with you, Jesus, yet, but we want to support traditional marriage. Like, oh man, me too. And all of a sudden you start aligning on more and more and more things. And then you're like, hey, you trusted me on all these other things. Let's take one step further to go to Jesus. That is a way for evangelism. I'm not saying it's the way, it's a way. I guess all I'm saying is that you're asking yourself a couple questions. What glorifies God the most as a country? What glorifies God the most as my own person? And
But I
you're
also
trying to pick your battles, right? I get it.
I think there's a time and a place to have these discussions,
Okay.
like in person.
Yes.
So like Amber and Agatha,
Yep.
those are my two girls that like I have been
On them.
investing in.
Yep.
And they know where I stand.
Okay.
Like they know that I'm a Christian. They know that I'm pro-life. They know that I'm not an advocate for the LGBTQ community. Like, and so we've had these talks and we've been able to like have civil communication, but I'm saying online,
All I'm saying is, do you think the liberals do you think people who are anti-God are shutting up
no.
and their voices are being heard and then repeated? And so that's why I'm saying it's like every now and then you're going to find somebody that has like a really fun quip about, like the 10 Commandments. You shouldn't post the 10 Commandments anywhere. You should post like feed the poor. Like if you're more worried about the 10 Commandments being put in a classroom, but not feeding the poor, but you're against feeding the poor, then you have, and nobody's saying that, but that's the liberal, what they'll put to kind of cast Christians as like all they care about is some doctrine and that they don't care about the poor. And that's not true.
I mean, I had one of the, sorry.
No, go ahead. But I guess if that's all you hear is a liberal, like dark sort of view of Christians, like Christians aren't legit. All they want is to control you. Well, that's not true. We want Jesus to be in control. And I think that's where I always point to. Anyway, so I think that's why speaking up and speaking out needs to be more something that Christians do overall, not so that we can belittle people, because that's where it gets dumb.
Well, somebody told me that I was just a part of indoctrination for going to Thailand and telling people about Jesus.
Yeah, of course
Like,
you are. That's a whole point.
She messaged me and she was like, if you aren't studying Buddhism and like going over, like, she's like, you're just indoctrinating them. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Again, like, this goes to everybody's indoctrinating everybody. I think at some point we got to own that. Like if a person wants to have sex outside of marriage, they are going to defend that passively or actively. And so what I've been seeing as a culture, it's been more defended actively, sex outside of marriage. If you're going to talk about, or anything that's not of Christ, the culture seems to defend it more and more loudly, and then it becomes the pervasive attitude of the culture. And I'm not saying that Christians shouldn't be persecuted, because clearly the Bible says that anyone who desires to live a Christian life is going to be persecuted. But that persecution comes to a place where is the gospel prevented from going forward? I just think, now this is where I'm about to go probably, in 18th century Japan, which I know everyone is really interested in, Christianity was starting to flourish, and they shut it down and killed off all the Christians because the pervading culture was like, we don't want anything Christian here. And it's been shut off from the gospel penetrating to the core of Japan for the past 200 and something years. It's wild to see. So missionaries in Japan have the hardest time because the culture was rejected. But if you can kind of get Christian culture accepted, the way that we take care of the poor, the way that we take care of people, then all of a sudden the message of Christ becomes really powerful. That's all I'm saying. To that end, I think we're going to watch Kamala Harris pick a VP that's moderate because she's left-wing, pretty hardcore. I don't know who she's going to get. Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California, is probably not going to be the guy because he just signs in the most radical laws that are the left that anybody that's sort of moderate wouldn't go for. I don't know who she's going to pick. Joe Manchin would probably be the smartest person, but I don't know if he could get on board with her.
I haven't even thought about her having, like, that just dawned on me.
Yeah.
That she has to pick a vice president.
Yeah, she does, or a running mate. So yeah, I think that's the challenge that we're going to see here coming up is you're about to watch the explosion of excitement around Kamala. I mean, I think the Democrats raised $100 million within 24 hours or 48 hours of her. Of Joe Biden resigning and everyone sort of coming around her. And so you're going to watch this whole thing unfold in a unique way. But I do think, and I don't think it's going to be easy steamroll for Trump. With Biden, I thought he had no chance. But with Kamala, they just need an empty suit to stand there and parrot whatever they want her to say. And if she can come up like she's alive, she's now the youngin' at like 59 debating Trump, and she can come off as being bullied, then she'll win. So like she has the ability to win in multiple ways. I don't think she has the ability to communicate anything with intellectual competence. So there you go. Hey, if you got any questions, if you want to talk about any of this, just text us at 737-231-0605. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe you're on your opinion about how much you should be sharing your faith or sharing your view, and how should we be influencing culture. I'd love to hear from you on that. And is Project 2025 something that churches and people should get behind to see Christians influencing the government in a really more predominant way?
Yes.
So I would love to hear from you about that. Hey, listen, thank you so much for watching. From our house to yours, have an awesome week of worship.